All right, happy Wednesday to all of you. And as we start the broadcast tonight, remember, we're going to be here just about every day. I'm wearing a hat today because I had to take a quick shower. No time for the mousse and the spray on just to keep us all looking half decent here. I've got my emergency Marco Rubio water just in case I can't speak and or I get really thirsty in the middle of the conversation. Hey, how's everybody doing? Did you go vote? That's why we're here. We're here to remind you to go and vote. So, for everybody who hasn't voted, that's okay. I know, I understand some of you are going to be voting March the 5th. Uh, lots of folks have started to go out there. I'm going to show you some statistics here. We're going to wait a little bit, get a crowd on here because it takes everybody just a bit to get on board here. And I've got my trusty sidekick, Linda Ruski, the database guru technician, chiming in on any new data that's coming in. As I expected, the turnout is pretty low. It's actually kind of miserably low. And I'm not going to say that's okay. What I'm going to say is this is exactly what I expected. Because again, I contend that there's a huge battle on the Democrat side between Roland Gutierrez and All Red or Colin All Red out of Dallas Fort Worth. Roland Gutierrez being one of the state senators down here in South Texas in the San Antonio area. And the numbers are starting to show what I've said all along, that a lot of Democrats are going to stay in their lanes, especially if they want to get their guy, in this case, Allred in Dallas Fort Worth area, or Roland Gutierrez down here in the San Antonio area. And, and the reason I'm saying that is because they want to take out, politically take out Ted Cruz in November. My gut says that Colin Allred's going to pull it off. I started to say he had a lot of money, but Roland Gutierrez here lately has just been, fundraising like crazy. So both Democrats on the, we want to take Ted Cruz, the senator, on, have a large amounts of money, and so this is going to be interesting to see. But I want to show you the numbers. And again, our trusty technician, Linda Ruski, in the Batcave somewhere, to never be seen, only be heard, and of course, seeing her work. Let me show you this really cool database we put together here. We're watching a couple of races now. I just put a few here for you all to look at. So this is a little spreadsheet we put together here, and what you can see here is I've got the SD 24 race against incumbent Tony Gonzalez on this side. Got Frank, you've got Brandon, some guy out of Dallas there, Victor, and then of course Julie Clark out of Medina County here. I'm really interested in what happens to a guy like Dan Crenshaw, so that's why we're running the numbers on this guy here too. But the one that's just as important as CD23 to us here is this one right here, Hatch Smith. And of course Wesley Verdell. And again, Wesley Verdell has all the what I think are the conservative constitutional endorsements from. You've got Ted Cruz, you've got Sid Miller there, even Ken Paxton. And of course, if we go to the right here, another one who's a dear friend of ours, Latinos for Trump, Latinos for America organizer coordinator from way back in 2015 when Trump announced, this young lady jumped out in front and said, "This is where this is how Latinos are going to leave the Democrat Party." And she's been very effective since then. Of course, that comes with a lot of baggage, as in some people don't like the identity politics, and really she's never done that. It's just what she's professed, and you've seen it here with the Republican Party is, walk away Latinos coming to the Republican Party. There's a whole dissertation of how I think that is true during the Trump years, only to be ruined by guys like Tony Gonzalez, Dan Crenshaw here. Hatch Smith hasn't been elected; he's probably not going to make it. But nonetheless, even a guy like Briscoe Kane, where they make it impossible to deal with these rhinos at the Republican Party. So then all walk away Latinos, in my opinion, are doing an about face back to the Democrat Party, and but aren't necessarily coming out in droves. In November, when Trump is on the ballot, watch these numbers just go sky high. So again, we're looking at the numbers here. If you're just joining us here, let me just run this down to you. We're watching four races. If you want us to analyze or evaluate any races, send us a message and or put it on the comments. I know that Matt Rinaldi, the Texas chairman for the Republican Party, the RPT, he is being challenged by his vice, Dana Myers. And just for the record, I know them both. I think they're good people. But somebody was asking, hey, what is going on with this? Why would the vice be challenging, the chair? And we've seen this before when Alan West was the GOP Republican Party of Texas chairman. Of course, he was challenged by the vice, and of course that went nowhere. And she ended up going to work for Abbott or something like that. We now have Dana Myers, who I think is also a doctor, I believe, but her husband, Dr. John Myers, if you remember, he was running for, I think it was land commissioner. So, or it might have been lieutenant governor, one of those two. And so I met them on the trail. There's a challenge going on there. And so let's just go through these numbers and we'll come back to what I've been saying to a lot of you for a long time is you are seeing the civil war inside the Republican tent like in full blast. And but these numbers are starting to tell us a few things. Now, this is yesterday's numbers for CD23. If I scroll down here, if you can see how many Republicans are in Bexar County, 1.2 million. El Paso's got 500,000. Look at the next big one is Medina County, right here in our county at 37, followed by Maverick. Little Eagle Pass out there, Eagle Pass, Texas, has 34,000 registered voters. Now, let me talk about the top four here for a second. Number three, Medina County, has the preponderance of the Republican vote. So when you look at this number here, that 37, I think we're at 65%, something like 68% of those people are Republicans. But if you look at Bear, El Paso, and then you look at Maverick, they are overwhelmingly Democrat voters. A lot of independents. Some folks have left the Democrat Party, but in all just straight facts, if we were to dive into the numbers, what you would see is these three counties that are in the top four that make a large population are heavily Democrat. Now, that's happening in Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Nothing new here. So they balance everything out with these other 28 counties, or in this case, there's 29 counties. When you take those three out, there's 26 other counties. The preponderance of these counties are mostly Republicans. This is the rural areas out there in West Texas, with the exception of a few places like Culberson, maybe even LaSalle and Frio, just south of San Antonio, down in those areas, are still running Democrat. Even in today's world, if you can believe that. Here's what I say about that. We've had for the last 6 or 7 years, since Trump announced that he was going to run. He came down the escalator and he announced that he was going to run for president. We've had an opportunity for the Republican Party to be a homestead, a just a place for walkaway Democrats. A lot of them being Latino Hispanics here in the great state of Texas, who are finally realizing nothing good is coming out of the Democrat Party. But we've really we just don't have the elected Republicans that really tote the Republican Party planks. And I'll show you some few things here in a little bit, but just the reason that Tony Gonzalez here is being challenged is because he's been censured. And if he was never censured, he's still a horrible Democrat disguised as a Republican representative. Now, this is all par for the course. There's no whining or venting here. What I'm saying to you, this is all politics. The problem with the politics of this season is that there's so much at stake. China is looming. We've got 33 trillion, soon to be 34 trillion in 2020 in national debt, and in 2026 we start to pay $1 trillion just on the interest on money alone. That is not sustainable. You've got somebody, I read somewhere it's 7 million, 8 million illegals under Joe Biden. Folks, don't listen to that. It's more like 12, 13, maybe even 14. And when you include this thing called the gotaways, nobody really knows what that number is. And so when you're only watching the park down in Eagle Pass and you're not watching the other 799 miles, point 0.9 miles, because the park is point one a mile of the entire border, you can't really say how many people have come in. Now, that said, on the opposite spectrum, the numbers may be lower, and but there's just no way. There's so much river, so much area where illegals can cross, and they're doing it every day. But somehow the battle zone is down there in Eagle Pass, and we're supposed to make that a win. The win, in my case, would have, in my opinion, would have been had we taken the Constitution the founding fathers gave us and we utilized it. We utilized it and told the federal government to go pound sand because we are Texas and we're not going to allow our citizens to be endangered or even maybe press Mexico. $254 billion worth of trade and in back and forth happens just right down the road here in Laredo, Texas. And our governor doesn't have the sense to pressure them like Donald Trump did. Lots of politics here. Everybody knows I'm not a fan of Abbott because you cannot say that you are containing the illegal alien incursion, invasion, the crossings, whatever. When you look at the numbers, I said this last night, I'll say it again tonight. The numbers haven't gone down, they have gone up. Sure, down there by Eagle Pass, they have been contained. But guess what? It's like the drug war. If you push on one place, it's like a balloon. It's going to pop out somewhere else. So we put pressure in Del Rio when the Haitians were down there. Remember that 24,000 Haitians underneath the bridge. We cleaned that all up, and guess what? So we applied pressure there, and it popped up in Eagle Pass. It was doing fine because they made it really clinical. So you didn't care as long as they weren't there. There was no illegals, aliens running around your cities and your streets. But now there's so many that's happening. So guess what? They've got to contain Eagle Pass. So there goes the governor and a whole bunch of Constantino wire. Good law enforcement folks trying to do the right thing, no doubt. But it's the wrong thing because we just need to close the entire border, look at Mexico and say no more trade with you in Texas until you stop this madness. We could have done that at the Texas state level. We just don't have the cojones or the leadership with the cojones to do that. All that said, back to these numbers here, they're low. Look at this, they're low. And so I wanted to first point out, look at all the numbers of eligible voters. Now let's go somewhere down here to my home county, or former, where I grew up, because I live in Medina County. This is home now, but my former grew up Valverde County, which is right up here. I'm going to highlight it for you. See it right there? There's 29,000 voters in there. 154 people showed up yesterday. And so all that said, uh, we've got a long way to go. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One is there's a lot of patriots, understandably, folks. I'm not shunning anybody here. I totally get it. They're going to wait to March the 5th because they don't trust any of the early voting county because they think that other people are going to come in and counter with mail-in ballots, et cetera, et cetera. Totally get that. But this is still, it's less than 1/10% of the whole 100% of 29,000 voters. And the other thing too is possibly is there's just no energy right now to get out and vote for a lot of folks. And that's not to say the candidates in CD23 haven't been doing their due diligence to get everybody out. And but maybe some of the incumbent, like Tony Gonzalez voters, have just decided they're not going to come out at all. That bodes well for CD23 challengers, which I have them right here. Francisco Lopez, Frank Lopez Jr., known as the U.S. Border Patriot. You've got Brandon Herrera, also known as the AK guy, with 2.7 million viewers on YouTube. Victor from Dallas Fort Worth, who came all the way down here to run in CD23. And then, of course, Julie Clark, who former GOP chair for Medina County, is also running. So again, I think these numbers say a lot because let me tell you something. If you look at previous years, now let's compare because some of you are going, okay, how can you evaluate this? Um, well, I slept at the Holiday Inn Express last night, so that's one. I was just waiting to throw that. Okay, Linda, you don't got to laugh at me and tell me to move on. And my technician's telling me that was a horrible joke. And most of the millennials don't get it. Have you ever used that joke? Have y'all ever used that? You can't say you slept at a Holiday Inn Express because they won't get it. Anyway, I digress and I'm back to the numbers here. What this is saying here is to me is a couple of things as I look at the previous numbers, and we're just using Valverde County. If we go down here, just if we just move down a little bit to or move up to Maverick County, look at that. 54 people voted in the Republican. This is the Republican count, by the way. Okay. So these are not huge numbers. And when you look at Bear County up here with 3,743. Now, keep in mind, this is for the entire county. So Bear County is a little different because it's got 3 or 4 districts in there. So there's only a percentage of that. I don't have a true number for that, but we're showing you how many people are coming out to vote in places like Bear County. Back to the evaluation analysis of the data as we look at previous years. Remember, I ran in 2020. I watched the numbers in 2018 because I wasn't contemplating that far back running. It wasn't, but I did look at it because I didn't like Will Hurd at that time. In 2020, we jumped in 2019. So we ran a lot of numbers all the way back to 2014, 16, 18, trying to evaluate where the sweet spots are for numbers here so you can see where candidates will go to Bear County mostly. So a lot of you who say who live out in Pecos, Alpine, Marfa, anywhere out there in Big Lake, Rankin, McCamey. Those are all places I traversed multiple times. You would look at me and be surprised that I was out there 4 or 5 different times every month because I ran the tires off the truck. It's kind of what like Frank Lopez is doing. He's been all over the place. Some of the other candidates as well, but mostly I've seen Frank just driving the threads off the tires in his truck trying to get to everybody. The biggest complaint for the 28 counties that don't make up Bear County here is that the candidates don't go out there. But now you understand why, because 50%. Now I'm going to give you these numbers. We're talking CD23. If you've joined us, we're just evaluating what's happening here, the low turnout rate. In 2020, the numbers look like this of all Republican votes. Bear County was something like 48.5% of the total vote between all 29 counties. And so 51.5% were the outside 28 counties. So West Texas balanced out and was actually had an edge, just a little bit of an edge on Bear County. So if you could go out to 28 counties and win all those counties and break even in a place like Bear County, boom, you're going to be the next representative for CD23. So myself and a great team of supporters, we did that. And then and at 10 o'clock at night, we had a lead of 1,700 votes. I'm not going to make this about myself. I'm just using this as an example. What happens is they find, I don't know, 1,800 votes, something like that, and I lose by 7 votes. Now, why am I saying that? Because in 2022, when they gerrymandered the entire district, they made more parts of 1604 around Bear County, parts down there south of Lackland Air Force Base. If you've been down there near 410, they adopted all those other smaller districts and added them into CD23. So now it is inverted. It's 51 and 0.2%, maybe 3% of the totality of this vote that you're seeing here is coming out of Bear County, and the other 48.5, 48.7% of the total votes are out of West Texas. And why did that happen? Because a guy from Del Rio came in with very little money and a lot of support and a lot of energy with great ideas and proved that you didn't have to have a lot of money and a lot of establishment support to win. They had to steal it. They had to take it, do something in the middle of the night, and they found legitimately found a bunch of mail-in ballots. And why am I so why am I having this discussion? Because it's hard to win with all the 28 counties. And now you understand why all the candidates are staying in Bear County, especially Tony Gonzalez, who really doesn't care to go anywhere but just show up in the top four, these four right here, these four or five, they make up the bulk of. So this is why you see him in Uvalde, you'll see him in Eagle Pass, you'll see him in Del Rio, but he doesn't really talk to constituents. He's mostly talking to what he thinks are his voters. So he's never had an open town hall. So this is going to be an interesting race. It's a low voter turnout across the board. I have Dan Crenshaw here and Jameis Ellison just because I'm not a fan of Dan Crenshaw. I think he's another Democrat in disguise. He doesn't really care about his constituents. I could show you those numbers as well. The one we're looking at here, and I'm going to see if I can get this done here. My trusty technician showed me how, but let's look at Texas 53 here real quick for all of you who are interested. This is West Verdell right here. These are his county with Hatch Smith. So Kerr County has 38,000 votes. And here you have Medina County one more time, second only by 1,000 votes. And then Bandera again 18, and then Llano at 17. So these top four, if you're Hatch Smith or Wesley Verdell, you're going to focus in on that because that's where the preponderance of the votes are. If you look at this now, these are really like red counties. If you look at both Kerr County and Medina County, about as big as Maverick and Valverde County, but look at their votes. They almost tripled the numbers that you see out in Uvalde, Eagle Pass, and in Del Rio. Now, this is a totally different district, a totally different setup. But my point being is parts of Texas, some folks are just energized to go out and vote for their Republican representatives. So right now, if you look at this, they're doing a whole heck of a lot better than some of the bigger counties that are made up in CD 23. Again, just a lot of information just off of this one chart. If you're just joining us, we're just doing a quick analysis of what happened in CD 23. We're now talking about West Verdell and Hatch Smith right here in Texas 53. So key to this West Texas, Central Texas district, both on the House of Representatives and the Texas representative, is one county here that keeps popping up here. It's Medina County. Okay. And so now, so what you're seeing here is Medina County. I, I always tell everybody, if you can win Medina County in CD 23, you're probably going to be the next congressional representative for CD 23. You can almost say that for Wesley Verdell and Hatch Smith's race in Texas 53, except for Kerr County really is just it's a powerful county. If you win that, then that's really where you can contend and either be in a runoff. If there's too many, in this case, it's impossible. There's only two Republican candidates. But if there was four or five, and you focus in Kerr County, which is Kerrville, Texas, Medina, which is Hondo, Castroville, if you were to focus on those two, the answer is you would garner the bulk of the preponderance of the votes that probably gets you into a runoff and maybe even to just an outright win. It just depends on how you run into Mason, Crane, Real, Sutton County. I mean, look at this county. This thing goes all the way to Crane. Folks, that's McCamey, Texas. Is Rankin in here? No Rankin. What about okay, so there's Crockett. If you didn't know, that's oh my God, where's Crockett? So there's Sonora, and then there's oh, I lost the town, but Upton is McCamey, Texas. Schleicher is Cristobal, El Dorado. I'm sorry, El Dorado, just north of Sonora, and of course you've got Sonora in here as well. McCullough is, I think, is Brady, Texas, all the way to Pecos, which is Fort Stockton. So this thing shoots from Medina up into Kerrville, and then it takes a hard left all the way out into West Texas and slightly north into Brady. So again, just showing you the numbers. This is a spreadsheet. By the way, you can find this at the SOS. It's a state of Texas Secretary of State, their website. We just dropped it into a very more readable spreadsheet thanks to our Linda Ruski, our technician. She's good, not for hire. You can't afford her, and so this is us just evaluating. I'm not going to go so much into the Briscoe Kane Bianca Gracia one. I hope to have her here maybe tomorrow or the day after. Trusty technician, what were you saying? You gave me a comment earlier. Can you say that one more time? Okay, cool. So all I will say is the two big ones for us is CD23 and then Texas 53. They're now let me go back to something I said earlier. The two counties that the one county that really is popping up in these two districts all the way to El Paso and all the way into McCamey and into Kerrville that affects the congressional representative CD23, and that affects Texas 53 where Verdell and Smith are running against each other is Medina County. And let me tell you something. I know this is happening in other parts of Texas, but because we're so close here, there is a civil war in this county going like I've never seen before, to the point that the former county judge, Chris Schuhard, is running to be the Republican chair for the county, which is unheard of. Which is unheard of. Now, the reason that's happening is because that guy has endorsed Tony Gonzalez, the county sheriff, who, by the way, all these people are supposed to be Republicans, and really supported our campaign, and in a few other campaigns they turned on Will Hurd. Good people for all practical. I mean, it's not personal. I'm just evaluating the story here. But if you look at CD23 and Texas 53, they affect, because they're the number one or number two county next to the largest county in the CD23 case, it would be Bear County, right? But then you look at Texas 53, they're second to Kerr County. So Medina County really makes or breaks the representative for Texas and the representative for the congressional seat. So what's happened here in this county is unique in the sense that you've got about 10 or 12 places that like this every 2 years or maybe every 4 years, things come to a head to the point where the former judge is running to be the Republican county chair. And why? Because they've now decided that Tony Gonzalez, the censured representative, they want to support. So we've got a huge just, I mean, there's a, is that called a fissure? Where things just kind of break wide open, and we've got a full-on civil war here in this county. Now, you got the same thing in every county on different aspects. Let's go to Bear County for a second. You've got three people vying for the county chair there as well. You got Chris Coons, Robert Flores. I'm gonna have to get the other name. Linda, can you find me? Linda Ruska, can you find me the name of the three? Just I don't want to. What I don't want to do is not mention this gentleman, because I saw him in a forum and he was absolutely terrific as well. And but to me, everything has the litmus test. For instance, I've said this before. You're going to go out and vote for Texas representative. The first question you ought to ask yourself is, did you vote to impeach Ken Paxton, the only guy that was taking on Joe Biden, the president? Okay. He was doing such a good job. Democrats didn't sideline him, Republicans did. And one of those guys is this Briscoe Kane guy right here. The other guy is the Andrew Murstache is what I call him. If you ever seen him, he's got these, something of 1800 Murstache. By the way, not jealous, but if I could grow one, I might be doing that too. And but you're gonna wear that in modern day society. We'll call you Murstache, and mostly because we don't like him. He turned and did absolutely nothing good for this county and or any of the other counties as far as the conservative Republican planks are concerned. So he's out, but they replaced this guy with Hatch Smith. So that's why West Verdell ran against Murstache, but he's not good enough to just leave him alone and let him go be a representative. The establishment dropped Hatch Smith. So, and to that point, in this county, remember, we're focusing on where are the centers of gravity for different counties. Today, we're talking about CD23, which goes all the way to El Paso, and of course, Texas 53, which is a large part of CD23, but then traverses up into Brady, which is McCullough County, and all the way across to McCamey, Texas, which is Upton County. And so that's a large swath of land, folks. This is not just, that's a large amount of Texas to be able to control via the representatives. So guess what? Medina County commissioners, former judge who is running to be the Republican county chair, and of course Randy Brown, the sheriff. the sheriff. I can't believe this. I mean, these are folks that are literally helping Hatch Smith, not West Riddell, a sound, practical, pragmatic, you can work with kind of guy, Wesley Verdell. They've gone with Hatch Smith, and now they're jumping in with a guy named Tony Gonzalez, who's been censured. And so to that end, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed. But it's politics. You do what you want here, and but you don't. You can't. I mean, the bottom line is we're just gonna provide the facts here. So for anybody who's watching in this area, now the rest of the story. And so what I'm going to do here is I'll share this picture here because it goes to something I've been pushing up against for a little while here. Let me see if we got this one here. So 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 I've been beating up on Senator from District Texas Senator District 24 Pete Flores because listen, full disclosure here, I ran against him, and for these very reasons. I've always said Senator Pete Flores could pretend to be a Republican, but he's really a Democrat. He's just a South Texas Democrat, as the whole state of Texas was at one point. But they ran as Republicans because guess what? It's the smart thing to do if you just profess that Trump's your guy and Trump's your guy. But none of these folks really believe that. They're just running to stay in power. No complaining here whatsoever. What I'm saying to you, it's politics, except for one thing. We are at what I believe are existential times. China is looming. Our debt is so high, we're never going to pay it back. And everybody looks like they're just going to keep watching football, baseball, and have a good time until the Titanic sinks. I can't do that, folks. So if I can't win in the election because it didn't happen, that's fine. We're just going to keep talking about this. But back to the senator, okay? If I can, where's this other picture here, real quick? So here's actually I want to show this one here. Let me ring this one up because this is going to be. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's it right there. Okay. So what I've been saying is the senator really isn't who he says he is. Let me show you this here real quick. This is back in August 1st of 2023. This is post Tony Gonzalez being censured. Okay? Well, look whose name is here, the Honorable Pete Flores. Now, there's no other Honorable Pete Flores, so this is the senator. The senator is fundraising for a censured Republican. You see, so in there lies the matter and the crux of it all, folks. When you go vote, and which is why we're going to be on as much as I can at 8 o'clock, freshly showered and no hairdo because I can't take off this hat. You're not going to like it. Is we're here to just encourage you to go vote. But to tell you who to vote for, I have to tell you who not to vote for. So if there was another election, we'd go at it again with Pete Flores because I've said it from day one. He's really a Democrat. Actually, he's just a yes man. So he's probably a Republican that'll do whatever you want him to. And that's sort of what's happening. But here he is literally fundraising for a censured Republican. So back to the Latinos or exiting the Democrat Party, when they see stuff like this, they don't understand. Okay, wait. So you're not. So you bash Democrats because they're unprincipled or unchristian or unconstitutional. Really, is what it is, and it's true. But you're unprincipled Republicans. You're gonna actually fundraise for a censured, wholly disliked Republican like Tony Gonzalez. So I'm smashing two birds at once. Uh, don't vote for Tony Gonzalez, and the next time you see Pete Flores here, ask him what he's doing. Uh, Fundraising for a censured Republican. How are we going to bring and grow the tent of the Republican Party with Republicans like this? It's not going to happen, folks. I mean, that's all there is to it. That's the realities of where we are. And I consider myself a hardcore conservative, constitutionalist for sure, at the top of the list, Christian as best as I can be one, because we all fall short. But definitely a follower of the Republican planks. Except when I see these folks, I'm like, how in the hell are we going to get anybody to join the party with Republicans like this? Let me show you this last picture here because you're going to love this one. So this sort of sums it all up, right? There's Pete Flores fundraising for a censured Republican, right? Well, here he is advocating for Hat Smith. This is the only I can think of because this is a recent picture. Of course, that's our commissioner right there, and there's Randy Brown, the sheriff. So they're all in it for Hatch Smith. Now, this is America. They can do whatever they want. No doubt in this case, if they're all in it for Hatch Smith, at least we know. But Randy Brown here endorsed Tony Gonzalez, so that should tell you a whole lot. He does have a opponent. His name's Doug Christian. So if you see him on the ballot, I'm going to ask you to push that way. And of course, if we ever get Pete back on the ballot again, and we can afford to run against him, we will. We'll bring all this up. But there's Hatch Smith. By the way, Hatch Smith has not attended any real debates or even forums to answer questions. He's got a lot of money coming in from a large medical pack who still believes in the mutilation of children, and all that is in their mailers and their flyers. You've gotten the whole mess from them and from the Wesley Verdell camp. But here's the senator throwing in with the establishment, and so there you go. Choose wisely who you vote for when you go vote. Definitely go vote. If you're going to wait till March the 5th, that's perfectly fine. I'm just here to remind you every day. Uh, the wolves are amongst us. You know what I mean? They're not all over there on the Democrat side. They're right here inside the tent. And so let me sort of start to wrap it up a little bit on this civil war. Uh, it's not going to get any better. And what's going to happen here is that we're going to see this. It's going to get worse. You're getting hundreds of mailers already. I think I get 4 or 5 every time I check the mailbox, and they're kind of cool because I'm looking at them, going to see who's saying what about what. They've all a lot of candidates have resorted to just flat out lying. So that's starting to happen again. And so again, do your own research. We're providing information here to the best of our ability. Go out and do what you can. What I will say, this is another key one. I want to just make sure we're pushing these folks as well. Remember, um, Ken Paxton is also pushing these folks. We have to replace the judges that are so-called Republican who took away the ability of our attorney general to go after voter fraud. These 3 people, if they're on your ballot, I'm going to put them up every night. Gina Parker, I think she's out of the North San Antonio area. Lee Finley, and then David Schenck, Honorable David Schenck, who was formerly a Republican and judge, and of course was in the 2020 bloodbath, just a political bloodbath, was ousted as well, and a bunch of Democrats won. We have a lot of Republicans, but they seem to be acting like Democrats too. So a lot of stuff going on here. Hang on to your hats as we're just going to keep providing more information. The closer we get to Monday or Tuesday, it is really going to solidify. So we'll try to get a little deeper in there. I won't go crazy on you because I'm a statistician by trade in a former life, and with a lot of cyber experience, and we run our own business. So I can really get into the weeds of this. So I'll try to keep it as simple as Rush Limbaugh would say. We just want to have a conversation about the data that you and I can understand each other, even though it's like a monologue on this other end. But I know you're listening. I know you're paying attention. Go out and vote. Okay. And to all my Christian friends and all my pastors out there that are listening, you got to get the congregation to get out there. When you look at the numbers that we're seeing right now, this is literally just absolutely insane that we can't get more folks to go out and vote. It's absolutely necessary. If these numbers are going to go up higher, uh, not even just in CD23, but in that Smith and Wesley Verdell battle, this entire district, this Texas 53, CD23, is littered with just churches after churches after churches. But our pastors seem to think they've got to separate church and state. You got to stop that. I mean, uh, yeah, they're absolutely running us over big time. What I do want to do, and again, in this district here, look, and I'm going to point out a few things here before I leave. A lot of these counties have, folks running for commissioners and sheriffs. I do want to highlight one in Llano, Texas. Marquise Cantu, former Texas Ranger, just a phenomenal person. Is jumped in there to with a lot of great ideas about how to ensure that fentanyl doesn't get into the streets of Llano County. He's got a lot of experience tracking down drug dealers and all this other stuff. Please have a look at him. And we're going to get a picture of him up here tomorrow. There's a couple of other sheriffs I'm going to highlight as well up in El Dorado. We've got a couple of friends that are running up in Schleicher County as well. Sutton County, beautiful Sonora, Texas, has a couple of races as well. If there's something that interests you, just again, hit us on the message. We'll be happy to show you what we've got. But we're evaluating the data here. We're going to add a few more races, probably take Dan Crenshaw off here and leave Briscoe, Wesley Verdell, and CD23. We do want to see what's happening in your county. So if you have anything you want us to highlight, we'll look at it. We'll evaluate the data. Our trusty technician, Linda Ruski, out in the bat cave, will give us the information we need, and I'll do the best to evaluate it within a couple hours and bring it to you here live every night at 8 o'clock. I don't know that we're going to be here on Saturday or Sunday, but if need be, maybe Saturday to evaluate Friday's data. We'll do that as well. Again, if you're just joining us, just remember we're going to be here at 8 o'clock every day while the early voting starts. And then we're going to have a whole session March the 5th. We're going to have some pizza. I don't know about beer, but we're going to have some pizza and refreshments in the back here. And we're going to evaluate the data. We're going to have guests that day. And just to make sure, we're trying to see if we can get Sid Miller or Ken Paxton on here just to do a quick 5-minute drill, just to tell us how things are coming along. And of course, General Flynn, we put in a request for him. Now, he's national, but we've met him and been with him, myself and Frank Lopez, down in Eagle Pass evaluating the border. Was a phenomenal one whole day with the general. And so a lot of folks potentially going to be on here in the next few days, if not on March the 5th. But other than that, listen, I always say it's short and simple, but we just went 45 minutes nonstop. Luckily, I didn't need my emergency Rubio water, Marco Rubio, right? And so plenty of saliva where we could go another hour. We won't do that to you. Just as go vote. Pastors and Christians and all churches, Sunday, tell everybody to go vote. I'm thankful to my pastor for just letting me go up, and you didn't have to go Democrat or Republican. You just have to tell people go vote. And if they don't know who to vote for, you tell them to come here 8 o'clock. I'll tell you who not to vote for and let you make your assessment here. One last plug for our local Republican chair here. If you know this wonderful lady here, Pat Aiken, is the Republican former, or maybe still the Republican women's group here in Medina County. She's running to be, again, the GOP chair. She's running against the judge, the former judge, who should go to retirement and enjoy his money. But they want to support a guy like, Tony Gonzalez for whatever reason. So we're pushing for Pat Aiken to do that. We're going to do that all the way through. So if you want to get on here, or you want somebody to for us to highlight, go for it. But again, tonight, a special shout out to Llano, Texas, Marcus Cantu. If you're out there, go vote for that. He's just a good man, folks. Got a great family. Make sure you make it happen, and maybe we can get him on here in the next couple of days so he can introduce yourself. But other than that, God bless you. Get your nalgas off the couch and go vote. Stop your whining and start getting these clowns out of these positions. God bless you. We'll see you mañana.